Thank you, Jason. I was actually a little worried because last time I did this, I didn't know all the oohs and ahs, and so I was kind of practicing, but he kind of stole the thunder on that. Before we go into the details, one of the things I wanted to call out, if you're new to Salt House, in the bulletin, 7 core practices. Generosity is one of them, and oftentimes come up here, finance update. It relates to generosity, and I just want to say, you know, in the first quarter of this year, fiscal year, I was up here and I presented the numbers, and they weren't where we had hoped they would be from a giving perspective. But more importantly, we as a congregation had taken a vote to invest in our staff, invest in the programs. But we also knew that that came with risk if our finances couldn't support that. And I just want to say 2 words: thank you. You'll see as I go through the numbers, I broke it out between quarter 1 and quarter 2 to see how generous you all have been. And that makes my job easier standing up here. So if you want to go, so you can see over here, on the left-hand side, the numbers represent our first quarter. You can see we were missing our total income by 11,000. You can see October through December, we exceeded by 15,000. And that was October, November, December. The giving was coming in greater than we expected, which is awesome. So that what that brings us at the end of H1 is that we're actually over on our total income, which includes some of our church building use, but more importantly, the top line general giving. And so, again, I want to say thank you for that. Next slide. From an expense point of view, again, moving left to right, our first quarter, we were over by about 1,500. In Q2, that increased to just over 9,000. And that's what I was talking about, where we said we were intentional about investing. And you can see in the staff line, benevolence, for those of you who haven't heard this before, that's just a percentage of our total income. So if our income is over on the general giving, our benevolence will be over. Office, we had some overspend, some subscriptions. Jason's doing a great job with a lot of the videos and stuff like that, but it also costs money to subscribe to that software. It's more of a timing issue when it landed. And then in ministry programs, that includes our guest speakers. And so before Ryan came on board on staff, his expenses were going there. And so just want to give you some transparency. Building and grounds, we have some savings because we had budgeted some building improvements that haven't happened yet. But it takes us over to H1 total. So our expenses are over by about 11,000 for the first 6 months. That's not bad. It's not bad because when we did the approval for overspend, we were looking at about 45,000 for the full year.
Yeah, just to say, really, just for those who may be new, as Greg's referencing overspending, in starting October 1st, we as a community voted yes to having 9 months of overspending and investing in the staffing here, kind of to bring us to the place of growth that we feel like God was calling us into. So that means that Ryan's on staff as pastor half-time. Jason stepped up his role. I actually pulled mine back. So that's what Greg's referencing, just to give some.
Yes, thank you, Sarah. Next slide. So our H1 summary, when you look at income and expense, in Q1, we were basically operating at a loss of just under 13,000. We turned that around in quarter 2, so we actually reduced our Q1 deficit in half, more or less. And so it's really good progress, and again, I thank you for your generosity. Next slide. So from our assets and liabilities, you can see the first column, it's the end of September, then we look at it at the end of December. On the asset sides, which basically, you know, what we own, both in short-term and long-term assets, it's pretty healthy. Savings line, the 280, just to be transparent, I did transfer 20,000 out of that into our checking. So that's for our ongoing operating expense. So next quarter, that's probably going to be a little bit less. But still, when you look to the right for our liabilities, we're very fortunate as a church. We don't have a lot of debt. It's just more or less the monthly payroll-related expense that needs to get paid in the next month. Next slide. I'm not going to go through all the giving ways because Jason stole the thunder, but I am going to invite our financial secretary, Scott Moore, up because he would like to also share with you a need.
Thanks. So one of my roles here at Salt House is being the financial secretary, which is simply that I'm the one who oversees the process for how the cash gets from here to the bank. And so everything that goes into the joy jar, all right. There's a small team of us that counts it, puts it in the right place, and gets it into the bank. I am needing 2 more volunteers once or twice a month to help out that. It takes less than 15 minutes on a Sunday morning to do. But if you're interested in that, if that's, come find me, come find Jason, come find Pastor Sarah. I will train you on how to do that. Again, it's a short thing in terms of time commitment, but there's only a few of us, and we really need to have several of us in order to make sure that we've got lots of different people doing this. So I'm looking for 2 volunteers. If you're interested, have questions, come find me. Thank you very much.
He'll take more than 2 if you really want, you know.
And I just want to end, finances at Salt House, we are transparent. If any of you have an interest, probably the second Tuesday of every month, we have the Finance Committee meeting. You're more than welcome to join us about an hour to learn more. Otherwise, I will be around if you have questions. Thank you.